Since the Gaza war started, the one question that has come up time and again is, will this erupt into a wider war? Well, today it seems that it already has. Iran is angry. It has vowed revenge against its arch enemy, Israel. And why is that? On Monday, suspected Israeli warplanes bombed Iran's embassy in Syria. Iran says that the Israeli strike killed 7 of its military advisors, including 3 senior commanders. Now, this marks a major escalation in Israel's war with its adversaries in the region. Now, this is the most dangerous escalation in the region since the Israel-Hamas war started 6 months ago, and it begs the question, is this a new turning point in the West Asia crisis? How will Iran retaliate? Will it retaliate through non-state actors, perhaps through Lebanon-based Hezbollah? Let's understand. According to reports, the Israeli airstrikes on Monday destroyed Iran's consulate building in Syria's capital of Damascus. And among those killed is Mohammad Reza Zahedi, a top commander in Iran's elite Revolutionary Guards. Now, Zahedi's death in the attack deals a heavy strategic blow to Iran. You see, Zahedi was a senior commander in Iran's Quds force. He is the most high-profile Iranian target killed since the assassination of the IRGC general Qasem Soleimani in the year 2020. Iran's ambassador to Syria, Hossein Akbari, has said that the strike hit the consular building in the embassy compound. His residence was on the top 2 floors. Akbari, who was unharmed, said that Iran had asked the United Nations to hold a Security Council meeting about the airstrike.
There is, of course, an international responsibility towards this crime, and naturally, there will be an Iranian response. We are waiting for international organizations to do their duty. We asked the United Nations and the Security Council to hold a meeting tonight in the Security Council, and we are waiting for all member countries to do their duties towards this crime during this meeting.
And in the aftermath, Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi vowed retaliation. He said, and I'm quoting, having failed to destroy the will of the resistance front, the Zionist regime has put blind assassinations back on its agenda to save itself. It must know that it will never achieve its goals and that this cowardly crime will not go unanswered. Now, just to be clear here, Israel has long targeted Iran's military installations in Syria. But Monday's attack was the first time Israel has apparently hit the embassy compound itself. Both Syria and Iran have blamed Israel for the airstrike. On Monday, Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant did not refer directly to the strike, but warned that Israel was operating all over West Asia to exact a price from those who threaten it. He said, and I'm quoting now, we are currently in a multi-front war. We see evidence of this every day, including over the last few days. We operate everywhere, every day in order to prevent our enemies from gaining strength and in order to make it clear to anyone who threatens us all over the Middle East that the price for such action will be a big one, quote unquote. However, it's worth noting that Israel has ramped up these strikes in parallel with its campaign against Hamas in Gaza. And the attack is the latest in a recent string of Israeli strikes in Syria, targeting the IRGC as well as Lebanese militant group Hezbollah. And so far, these Israeli attacks have not provoked a response outside the scope of skirmishes taking place on Israel's border with Lebanon. This is also despite repeated threats by Iran and Hezbollah to respond to Israeli attacks in kind. Today's incident, however, may be the last straw. And I say that because technically Iran's consulate is sovereign Iranian territory, which means that Israel's apparent strike today would make it the most overt attack on Iranian soil in years. And this brings us to the question, what will Iran's response be? How will Tehran respond to this escalation by its bitter foe? In the aftermath of the consulate attack, Iran will be under pressure to show its strengths, and experts say that it is difficult to envisage an Iranian response that does not involve its most powerful paramilitary ally, the Hezbollah. You see, in the aftermath of the strike on Monday, Hezbollah warned Israel that it will pay for killing the Iranian officials. Hezbollah said in a statement, and I'm quoting, "Certainly this crime will not pass without the enemy receiving punishment and revenge." Now remember, since the Gaza war started, Hezbollah has exchanged near daily cross-border fire with Israel in support of its ally Hamas. For nearly 6 months now, Hezbollah has walked a fine line, balancing between trying to limit its field of militant operations to the border while maintaining a tit-for-tat rules of engagement. And now this has become harder. It's because Israeli strikes targeting areas much further afield than the border area are growing in frequency. In fact, last week, Israeli airstrikes hit a major city in eastern Lebanon. Like all regional allies of Iran, Hezbollah say that they have entered into confrontations with Israel on behalf of the Palestinians in Gaza. Israel's assault on this tiny Palestinian enclave has resulted in the deaths of over 32,000 people so far. According to conflict experts, one of the most immediate fallouts of the strike on Iranian consulate could be a rise in attacks by Iran's proxies, particularly against U.S. troops. And it would not be surprising, in the 6 months of the Gaza war, Iraqi and Syrian militias have repeatedly attacked U.S. troops. In January, in fact, 3 U.S. troops were killed in a drone attack on an American outpost in Jordan, remember, near the border with Syria. In retaliation, the U.S. carried out strikes on dozens of Iran-backed targets in Iraq and Syria. Attacks by pro-Iranian groups could resume. And that would mean that the Israeli attack on Iran actually puts a target on the backs of American troops in West Asia. And let's not forget the attacks by Yemen-based Houthi rebels on commercial ships and Western military vessels in the Red Sea. In the aftermath of the consulate attack, Iran will be under pressure to show its strength. Fighting against what Israel, amid the Gaza war, has boosted the regional popularity of these Iran-backed groups. It has also helped these non-state actors to feel more emboldened, in a way, in carrying out attacks against Israel and allies in the region, as well as shore up political positions domestically. But despite their growing popularity, they all have sought to avoid an all-out conflict with the West, which is a big relief to Washington. This attack has once again brought the region to the brink of an expanded war. Remember, Washington has thrown its weight into preventing a regional war, but after the latest attack, could that be an untenable position for the U.S. to take? We will have to wait and watch. Now, being the Prime Minister's wife of a country at war must undoubtedly be exhausting. And that is perhaps why the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, is planning to build a new private hair salon for his wife, Sarah. Now, you would think this is a rather sweet gesture, but here's the catch. The burden to build this private salon for the Prime Minister's wife will be borne entirely by the Israeli taxpayer. You heard that right. Reports say that Sarah Netanyahu will no longer have to travel to Tel Aviv to get her hair done. A special apartment has been rented out right next to the Prime Minister's official residence on Balfour Street in Jerusalem, just to meet Sarah Netanyahu's hair needs. The apartment is currently undergoing extensive renovations, paid for with the taxpayer money. It will include a hair washing sink and vanity station for makeup and hair. Now, why does the Prime Minister's wife need a private hair salon in the first place is the question. It's to protect her from quote-unquote security issues and high-level threats. And to understand that, we will have to rewind to an incident that took place last year at an event known as Sarah's Haircut. Now, on the 1st of March 2023, at the height of Israel's judicial reform protests, a national day of disruption was declared by leaders of the movement. Protests took place across the country. In Tel Aviv, protesters faced water cannons, tear gas, stun grenades from the police. At the time, it was seen as a shocking escalation in the police response. In short, the entire country was in turmoil. But that night, as protesters made their way back home, Sarah Netanyahu was preparing to get her hair done at a hair salon in the affluent Tikar Hamedina neighborhood. after a woman shared a photo of Sarah Netanyahu on social media. Hundreds of people showed up in front of that salon, angry that Sarah Netanyahu had chosen a day that ended in 71 arrests and countless police-related injuries to get her hair done. Dozens of riot police charged through the streets of Tel Aviv, pushing away crowds of anti-government protesters just to rescue Netanyahu's wife from the salon. The Israeli Security Service, it seems, does not want to take any more chances, and they would rather have Sarah Netanyahu have her own private salon than risk stepping out of the official residence. While the notion of providing security to the Prime Minister's family is understandable, the use of state funds for such a purpose raises concern about the misuse of public resources. Google is facing a lawsuit for violating users' privacy. Basically, the tracking of the internet footprint of even those who were browsing in Chrome's private mode, that is the incognito mode. The class action had been going on since 2020. Millions of users accused Google of secretly tracking their internet usage even in the incognito mode. That too since 2016. They claimed that Google's analytics, cookies and apps let the alphabet unit improperly track people. Why would you as a user switch to private mode? Of course, for some privacy. Maybe to avoid getting targeted by ads for the things that you are searching. To log into your social media, perhaps. Users say tracking and storing this data turns Google into an unaccountable trove of information. That it learns about their friends, favorite foods, hobbies, shopping habits, and the most intimate and potentially embarrassing things they hunt for online. But let me tell you, that's not even the half of it. Yes, we all know search engines, social media giants can track our data, but most of us are probably unaware of the extent of it. For example, Google can know your location at all times and store your activity on Google Maps. Basically, the places you have visited, for how long and at what time. It also knows the kind of device you are using. It has access to all the information you store on your mobile phone, contacts, all of your text messages, your emails, if you use Gmail, every picture you have clicked, perhaps, sometimes even those that you have deleted, your schedule if you use Google Calendar, the apps you download from App Store, how often, when and where you use these apps, and who you use them to interact with. The videos you search on YouTube, the ads you click on, the things you buy online. If you use Google Home, they can also store a live recording of every command you or anyone else has ever given to your device. In fact, if you are curious to know what data it is storing, it even offers you the option to download it. Simply go to the Google Takeout page in your account, and there you will find everything that Google knows about you. But be warned, it might be jarring to see it. All of this can tell a lot about who you are. All of the data points allow Google to build a pretty robust profile about you, which can be used to sell ads, not just on their search engine, but on over 3 million other websites and apps. Ever wondered how you talk to a friend about what you want to buy and it starts showing up in your ads? And when users believed that they would get some respite from all this tracking in the private browsing mode, they were let down. Their activities were still being monitored. The users have been trying to make their case for 4 years now, and finally it is close to settlement. The terms of settlement have been filed in the Oakland, California Federal Court. Google has agreed to destroy billions of records. It will update disclosures about what it collects in private browsing. It will also let incognito users block third-party cookies for 5 years. Where does this stand in the face of the treasure trove of data that Google perhaps has collected from you for years? If you go to download it, the file will run in gigabytes. The measures Google has agreed to adopt are far from enough, but it is a start.